Welcome to another episode of the Programmatic Digest podcast. I am your host, Helene Parker, and I have the outstanding Jana Meron on the call today. Hi, Jana. How are you?
Hi, Ellen. Thank you so much for having me.
I am excited to talk to you, Jenna, because we are hosting a workshop together called the Sell-Side Programmatic Foundation for Buyers. And this workshop came about because you and I both realized that there's a disconnection between the sell side ad ops, at least, and the buy side traders. And so you started explaining the differences. And I was like, wait, hold up now, Jenna. Like, this is all above my pay grade, but I feel like we should do it in a workshop. And you were like, you're down. And so I'm super honored that you even entertained the idea with me and you're here doing it. And so for whoever is listening to this, this is a preview of the workshop. We're going to answer a few questions about SPO, Publishers Ad Stack. But before we even get to that, Jenna, tell us if when you were 5 years old, you woke up and said, I'm definitely going to work in programmatic and ad tech when I grow up. Is that how it happened for you?
Oh, yeah,
No,
that's how.
how you landed where you are today.
Will say that when I did get into advertising, my mom told me it was very fitting because I used to love to watch the commercials.
No way, for real? That's so cool.
I have always loved watching the commercials, and so it was rather fitting.
Okay, so you are almost destined to be in
Yes.
the country. Well, we joked the other day that in your household you do commercials, and I'm like, in my household I used to do commercials, but then I have a daughter, and she's like, Mom, why is this? And I'm like, this is paying for this iPad that you have right now. We should watch
That's
this.
right. We don't skip, you don't, and you click accept because that's how we eat in this household.
Yeah, that's how you eat. So you were destined to be in advertising, but like talk to us about like give us a little bit about your career, how you landed where you are today, what is something you're really passionate about, what takes you.
So I started I was actually a media buyer
Uh-huh.
for 6 years at the beginning of my career, where my first media foundations planning program at the agency was the first one that had digital as part of it. So yeah, I'm dating myself, but that's really where I started to learn the basics of how buying planning worked, and I was hooked. From there, I went to work at Google, where I was one of the early AdSense sellers, selling to small and medium sized publishers, and frankly, some big ones too. Selling AdSense to them to help them generate revenue from ads.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was like really knowledgeable about the publisher side of the business. And so I worked at CBS Local, where I had the illustrious title of Director of Secondary Revenue because,
Okay.
well, ad tech, like it wasn't a term exactly yet, and
It
they didn't
was
know what to call it. So,
secondary revenue. Okay.
yeah, so I was the director of secondary revenue, and I generated revenue on the 100 owned and operated websites without an IO. So
Wow.
using
Wow.
uh, uh, and then from there, that's where I learned all about programmatic, and I got really into it. And then, but at the same time, I also got very into Silicon Alley Insider, which then turned into Business Insider. And so I decided that's where I wanted to go work. And so I spent probably like 6 months trying to get that job. And finally I did.
Oh,
Uh, and so for 9 years, I built and ran the programmatic and data team at Business Insider.
wow.
Yeah, that was like the majority of my journey in programmatic and data. And then from there, I was doing some consulting. And then I joined the Washington Post as their VP of who knows what, programmatic data systems, who knows. Um, and then unfortunately, there were some layoffs, and I went back to consulting, where I am very happy.
Yeah.
To be leaning into all the things that I'm passionate about, which is cleaning up the supply chain and making sure that people understand what we're doing and how it works. Because one thing that I did notice is that all of the training that I had, we're moving so fast, there just isn't a lot of time to do it. And so, one of the things that I enjoy and feel passionate about is making sure that people really understand what and why we're doing.
If you're a programmatic trader or buyer, here's the truth. Optimizing isn't just about bids and KPI. It's the supply side that holds the key to smarter, efficient, and effective results. That's why me and a special guest are co-hosting a live workshop at the end of October. It's going to be called Sell-Side Programmatic Foundation for traders and buyers. It's just about 60 to 90 minutes like all of my workshops. We'll take you under the hood of a publisher ad stack, then show you exactly how to use this intel into your day-to-day optimization. You'll understand a publisher's ad stack in plain English, learn why the same impression can arrive through different paths, discover when to choose open exchange, PMP, or even a curated deal. I'll even leave you with 5 to maybe 8 smart questions every traders and buyers should be asking their supply partners or the publishers that they work with. This isn't like a theory. It's Excel first, it's checklist driven, it's packed with example, hands-on keyboard visualization you can use every day. We're running our first session in October with the option of a micro learning series in January that you'll find out during the workshop. Seats are limited, so grab yours early and let's optimize smarter together.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear that because that's what we do, right? On the buy side. So I was a trader for many blue moons and then I moved this way thinking it was promotional, and then I move up a little bit and then move back to lateral thinking I was being promoted and whatnot. And then I realized that it's still the same challenges that I was going through maybe a few years ago. That looks maybe different now, or it's the different acronym. And so part of what we're going to cover during this workshop is you bringing this clarification, demystifying or debunking the myth that's behind ad ops, right? What do you do on the supply side? What is going on the publisher side? Because one of the main role for the trader is to be able to review that inventory. Okay, we call you guys site lists and app lists, and then we are removing, excluding, or including into our buys by just using a KPI. And so obviously I'm very much minimizing the action or what it takes to optimize, but what does it take to, like, for instance, I like to joke that a trader needs to be able to navigate between different tools, right? Sometimes we have literally up to 10, and I would almost argue more. And so at one point I was working for a tier 1 brand under this independent agency, and I had at least 8 tools. It was CM360, DV360. We had TubeMogul at that time, which is Adobe now. We had added some of the Facebook stuff, some of the Google ads, the YouTube. So it had to be in Google ads because in DV360 it wasn't there yet. So I'm at 6. I feel like I'm forgetting 2 more. Google Analytics was something we had access to. We didn't use it as much. And then I think this is the clients that we tested TikTok for, or Simplify. So like it's all of those DSPs and ad servers that we have to look for, right? So like we have to use. So on the ad up side, if I'm managing my campaign in a DSP, making sure that I'm setting up the buy, the media buy, representing the advertiser, selecting my inventory. Like, what does it look like for the ad ops on the supply side, like on the publisher side?
Well, if you're using 6 DSPs and the publisher is using somewhere between 15 and 25 SSPs, and they have somewhere between 3 and 4 integration types that you go into a different system for, or a different dashboard for, and you have your DMP or whatever you use to collect and understand your audience data, and then you have your analytics tool that helps bring all that data together so that you can understand what's happening in your ecosystem. Ideally, publishers are able to like merge all the data sets into one so that it's easier to look at. But when I first started at Business Insider, I want to say we had 6 SSPs, and it would take me all day plus Scam and Avex. I would say I spent almost all day doing the monthly revenue numbers every Friday in an Excel sheet.
Oh yeah, good old Excel. We can be hitting on Excel, okay? Because like Excel
No,
is
no, no,
we can that no, that's for my listeners who always hear me say Excel is big and then they be dropping in my DM talking about something else. But that's very interesting. Let's take a quick step back before you help me understand what that looks like, right? So you're talking about integration within those SSP because you would need multiple integration for one SSP.
So yes,
Wow.
potentially. And I think that's where we get into the SPO. So if you think about how the publisher ad stack is set up, you have the ad server, and that is where AdX lives. And that is also where open bidding lives, which is the ad server's way of saying we'll let another SSP bid into the ad server just like we do at AdX. They also have pre-bid client side. A lot of publishers use a wrapper company in order to do that. But basically, what this does is it creates an auction in the browser,
Okay.
and you insert SSPs into that header, into that browser header tag, in order to create competition inside of the ad server, because the ad server without competition is lazy. But a lot of times it's a little bit slower, and so then you also have server to server integrations, which is what open bidding is inside of the ad server. But you have Amazon TAM. So Amazon created a system where you can use their connection point to a server to integrate bidders into, and it's very, very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Prebid has one that does that as well. And there are all kinds of different ways that you can integrate at this point. But generally, it's server and client.
If you're a programmatic trader or programmatic ninja, here's the truth. Optimizing isn't just about bids and KPIs. The sell side holds the key to effective, efficient, and faster results. That's why me and a special guest are co-hosting a live workshop at the end of October. It's going to be called Sell-Side Programmatic Foundation for traders and buyers. It's about 60 to 90 minutes. We'll take you under the hood of a publisher ad stack. Then I'll show you exactly how to use this information, this intel, in your day-to-day optimization. You'll understand a publisher's ad stack in plain English, learn why the same impression can arrive through different paths, discover when to choose open exchange, PMP, or even maybe a curated deal. I'll even leave you with some questions that every buyer and trader should ask their supply partner in order to maximize that relationship. This isn't just theory or conception, it's Excel first, as you know. Excel is paid. Checklist driven, is packed with live hands-on keyboard visualization and example, things that you can use on a day-to-day. If you are interested, be sure to sign up because early signups are going to have a special view into a micro-learning series on the same topic that is launching in January. So make sure to sign up and then I'll see you in the workshop.
Got it. So I heard you use the term wrapper, open bidding, pre-bid. And so for my fellow traders, if it went ahead above your head a little bit, that's okay, because it always gets above my head, because this is not what we do. We don't always think or need to know those details because it's just not Or should we, right? So like you mentioned the thing about SPO. To me, SPO means, and to me as a buyer means I no longer need to bid on all 25 plus 100 of them SSPs to perform or to get the results that I'm trying to get. And most of the time, if not all the time, it is a KPI based decision. I'm trying to get to that action. I only want a cost per action or CPA of X, or there's a ROAS in place, or there's revenue that's being tracked somewhere, or there's a footfall measurement in place. So we only want X amount of impression or whatnot. And so it's very much down to that one KPI, right? And so that's how we say yes to including this in our inventory or bidding on it, or no inside the DSP. So SPO, the exercise, at least the manual version of the exercise, is going through my data post the campaign and making sure that these sites are performing well. They've been referred by this one SSPs, and therefore I'm only going to start bidding on this SSP. Or if I'm able, some DSP don't offer that, but if I'm able to pull the media owner, right? So let's think about I don't know what would be a good example of a media owner and a site at this point, but She Media and Motherly. Motherly is the site. She Media owns Motherly and a bunch of other site things, and then they have an SSP. And so if I know that most of She Media is referring great inventory, and when I say great inventory, is performing based off that KPI, then SPO means I'm going to stay with She Media for this type of clients, and I'm probably going to remove everything else that's not close to performing. That's what the manual side of SPO is for a trader. What does that mean for you though? Like how does the publisher ad stack, right? All of those SSPs that you're integrated in, how does that relate to SPO or DPO?
So SPO
Mm-hmm.
is something that the DSP does without really the trader's knowledge. And it may have that impact of being able to isolate the best performing inventory for you. But what SPO is looking for the path that is closest to the inventory, right? And so, is it a direct path? Is it direct from DSP to publisher to SSP to publisher? Or is it DSP to SSP to SSP to publisher?
Okay. Okay, yeah.
And so the DSP is looking to get from DSP to SSP to publisher
Mhm.
as fast as possible.
Yeah. Okay. So DSP to SSP to publisher. Okay.
Right? That is the ideal. And like, because of the way ad tech has grown and exploded and the way bid requests are handled by SSPs, and then therefore there's a result from the DSP, and there's throttling, and there's like all this stuff that gets in the way of the advertiser to DSP, DSP to SSP, SSP to publisher.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
from the opposite side, publishers look at all of the SSPs they have and
Mhm.
all of the ways in which they transact. Are they transacting on the server, or are they transacting on the client?
Mhm.
And what value do I get when they transact in those environments? And if they are not adding value, then I can remove them. And that's where the demand, you know, path optimization comes from.
Mhm.
Like, I only want demand partners that are going to provide me with good quality fill.
Got it. Okay. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because I know for a fact one of our most, like for instance, one of our most paid or free workshop is the optimization bootcamp. I call it the optimization bootcamp, but it's literally me walking them through an Excel sheet and saying, if you're pulling a site report, this is how you want to make your decision. If you want to look at this, you want to pivot in this additional dimension, look at it from like a creative perspective or a SSP. And so I always encourage, you can start with your site list, but you have to tie it back to the SSP eventually, and understand it's like, is it worth it just cutting all of the sites individually like this? So when I say cutting those sites, it means excluding them completely out of your ad group or the campaign, or sometimes even the advertiser? Or does it make more sense to look at, like you said, that SSP that referred this inventory that's not performing? And one of the things I always say, and we don't almost never do it, is like to reach back out to those SSP partners and say, this is working well, or this is not working well, give me back my money. But I always like to say they're not going to give you back your money. But what they're going to say is, listen, we can make it work for you. What else can you need? Can we give something else? Can we have a private deal? Can you have specific customized segments? Can we work for an inventory that we know is going to perform? But you got to give us information like what is the strategy? Who is the brand? Which is,
Yeah. So you want to reach out to the publisher, not the SSP with that.
Oh, okay. Okay. But how do we reach out to the publishers? Because like the Washington Post, the Business Insiders, those are larger tier one, I would say, publisher. But like the regular publisher that's performing just as well, even better in some cases, how do I know to reach out to them? Like, how can I get their what do I do?
Well, the SSPs can help you get in touch with them for sure. But almost all of the publishers that you want to buy from are either being repped by somebody like a She Media or Raptive or Freestar or whomever, or they have a team of people there and somebody would love to work with you to sell you some media. I can assure you of that.
Yeah. And I know for a fact that I think we've sheltered the trader to just being in the back end instead of client facing, but the role is evolving so much now that we have to start being, if we're not going to be client facing, at least be partner facing, vendor facing, getting on those calls. And some of us are in our early ages in this industry, 0 to 2, 3 years. That's okay. You're still welcome to the conversation. But if you start now, by the time you get to the director level or to even manager level before that, you will have an arsenal of, I like to call it like your toolbox of partners will be filled enough that you'll instantly know Gum High Creative Contextual, or I don't know, Black Enterprise, IOR private deals for Black and Brown publishers. I don't know, something like that, right? So I think this is going to be a great workshop. What are you most excited about in terms of, or maybe let me ask you this: who do you think should join the workshop? What would benefit most?
I think anybody who wants to really understand how the buy and sell side connect literally, and the various ways they do it and why it's so important for buyers to know their publishers, that's what I'm so excited about.
Yeah, I think I'm very excited about that too, because even as you're talking about things as simple and detailed as an integration, and I mean, we got some integration on our end, but most of them are data focused, right? So like it would be with an Adara or with a live ramp, and most DSPs very much simplify this whole thing. They already has a storefront available for us. We don't have to log outside. It's very, very convenient for us not to reach out outside of our DSP. And I feel like we've put a lot of trust into DSP relationship. And that's okay, right? But at the end of the
All
day,
relationships are beneficial, but we have to make sure that we are remembering that the content gets generated somewhere.
Mhm.
And, this helps support that, but also publishers know how to reach their audiences best. And while the tech is great, you should talk to the publisher. They know their audiences better than anyone.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up now because I have only 1,005 questions left, but that's why I'm gonna invite everybody listening or watching this to join the workshop. This is a workshop that I think will be super beneficial for both buy side and sell side, or supply side, I would say. But also, I think it's time for us to continue building that bridge between supply and demand, right? Like there's too many middlemen, and that's okay. But I feel like we should still be able to reach out directly to a publisher. Like I don't know, outside of you or outside of going to a conference where they are showing up, like there's almost no way for me to know, like, oh, this is Raptive who does this, or this is Infolinks and they do this, right? And so Thank you so much for dropping by.
One of our most popular workshop is the optimization bootcamp. Why? Because I am the one walking you through how to look at your data report from any DSP that you downloaded and make changes that are going to turn this data into insight you can use, okay? Beyond just a report. I'm realizing that I may have been missing a very foundational steps, which is understanding what that impression, what that even means on the publisher side. That is why I'm inviting you to this workshop I'm hosting at the end of October with this very special guest called the Sell-Side Programmatic Foundation for Traders and Buyers. This is where I'll take you under the hood to really understand the publisher ad stack. Let me tell you, you'll understand the publisher ad stack. You'll learn why the same impression can arrive through different paths. You'll even discover when to choose open exchange versus PMP, even why and when to do curated deals, okay? So this isn't a theory. This is Excel first. This is checklist driven. This is visualization, hands-on keyboards example that you'll be able to use in your day-to-day. So do me a favor and make sure you sign up as soon as possible because early signups have bonuses coming.
Thank you for having me.
I also want to give a quick shout out to one of our first sponsor, GDP. They help brands maximize value in media by balancing contextual relevancy, brand safety, and their business goals. So they are here for any curation answers that you may have, and they're super efficient in doing so. So reach out to GDP for any curated deals or curation media that you might need. And shout out to them for sponsoring this podcast and the workshop. But any last word for us, Jana? What else should this audience know?
We're gonna have a good time.
I couldn't edit it any better. So thank you so much again, Jana. And then for anyone interested, make sure you sign up with the link in the description or in the show notes.